Ang susunod na programa ay rated PGI. Patnubay at gabay ng Islam ay kailangan para sa mga hindi Muslim na manonood.
Wassalatu wassalam ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, we would like to extend our thanks to the organizer for giving us this opportunity to share certain perspectives on the issue that your focus group discussion is currently engaged. We felt that the subject that you are trying to discuss today is very much important. This concerns Islamic education. And the theme that you raise are also equally important, like Islamic education towards understanding Islam, implementing Islamic education, and challenges of Islamic education. So I would like to frame my perspectives on this at these three themes, and from there I'll go one by one to the questions that you raise. I would not possibly be able to answer all the questions, but I could do some random readings of these questions and will try to make some answers to these questions. Let me start with the first question on FGD 1 regarding the significance of education in Islam for Muslims in Mindanao. Well, this is very significant given the fact that Islam is the foundation of Muslim faith, of Muslim religion among Muslims in the Philippines. Therefore, there has to be a continuing education as far as understanding Islam is concerned, for the simple reason that the Muslims in Mindanao have to be updated with the development of Islamic thought, and even if Islam has been in the Philippines for centuries, and Muslims had already learned the fundamentals of Islam and the rudiments of Islam, but as society grows, there is a need to also update ourselves with the development of Islamic thought, of Muslim culture, of trend in Muslim society, etc., etc. In other words, even if we are already Muslims, in that even if Islam had been with us for a very long time, it is very necessary that we have to continuously learn and update ourselves with current development in Islam. This is very important because if we look at least two frameworks in understanding Islamic education, that is for instance, the source, one fundamental source of knowledge in Islam is that we have to be learned on the revealed aspects of knowledge in Islam. This is the essential or the obligatory part for Muslims to know. So each of us in the new generation should be able to know our obligations as far as these revealed aspects of knowledge in Islam. And the other part is the acquired knowledge, yeah, an essential part also of Islamic thought. This is also where we have to update ourselves because we need to um, be able to know the development or to follow through the development of society. So the first part is the obligatory aspect of Islam, where each of us has to learn. And the other part is the fard, or fard kifaya part, or the the obligation that is at least selected part of the Muslim community should know. And this would include sciences, history, sociology, etc., etc. So this is how comprehensive, supposedly, our understanding of Islam is all about. Now, how are these reflected in the current state of Islamic education in the Philippines, given the diversity, particularly of people in the country, particularly Mindanao? Well, we have to contend with the fact that even if Islam has been with us for a very long time, there were waves of Islamic thought that arrived in the Philippines. And I would contend that we could not do away with just and select which is appropriate for us. I think it is imperative that we have to be able to understand the totality of Islamic thought, so that we will be able to develop a holistic and comprehensive framework of knowledge in Islam. In other words, while we know that we belong to the Shafi'i madhab, I think we also have to be updated with other madhahib, so that we will know really the those aspects of Islam where there are varieties of teachings and perspective, where we could possibly share, where we have some commonalities and we also have some similarities. So it is only then where we can build that comprehensive framework of Islamic education in the Philippines. The basis of Islamic education should be comprehensive, because in the first place, Islam is a religion of totality. It is a totality, a system of life, and therefore we cannot just concentrate on just one aspect of or branch of Islam. It has to be comprehensive, that it has to encompass practically all the rudiments of Islamic thought, from the fundamentals to the branches, to the rudimentary elements, etc., etc. Now, the academic approach on Aqidah is that I think Aqidah is the fundamental of our learning. It should be the foundations of our understanding of Islam. If we may liken it to a tree, it would represent like the root of our understanding, so that it should, in a sense, be the basis as to how we are able to, in a sense, stabilize our understanding of our faith. On the other hand, Aqidah also has to be comprehensive, such that it should allow the formations of other like aspects of Islam, even if it concerns culture, tradition, etc., etc. In other words, if Aqidah is the root, other sciences, cultures, and others should serve as the trunk, the branches, the flowers, the fruits, etc., etc. So it is by then that we could have a holistic understanding of Islam. In other words, we have to recognize that while we have to develop that foundation on Aqidah as Muslims, we also have we belong to different cultures, we belong to different um, countries, we have different nationalities. So we have to also appreciate this diversity. But this diversity should be such that it should not be, it should not run contradictory to the essential and fundamental teachings of Islam. So if we are able to balance this, the foundational aspects of Islam, like Aqidah, and the scientific or cultural traditions of Muslim community on the other hand, so we might as well develop a comprehensive framework of what Islamic education is. Now, of course, Islamic education has been implemented in Mindanao for a very long time. It was done both formally and informally. When I speak of informally, I'm referring particularly to that long historical traditions of Islam in the Philippines. We have that tradition, but with the coming in of the Philippine government, there was precisely an attempt to formalize Islamic education, and that was the birth of how the Madaris were integrated into the mainstream Philippine educational system. So in a sense, these combinations of formal and informal Islamic education in the Philippines has really created, on one hand, well, certain strides in the way how Islam developed in the Philippines. But on the other hand, it also created certain problems because you cannot just mainstream a tradition that has been there for centuries. It will take a very long time, a long process before the whole process would, in a sense, bear roots. And what is quite lamentable is that the effort of mainstreaming had just happened quite recently, while those in other countries, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, Thailand, and others have been quite successful, because I think their tradition is fairly different from those in Mindanao, and the approach of the government is also fairly different from those of what happened, at least with the project of what we call the DepEd project on the Islamic education. Now, I think there are many things that must be done. As we had underlined, it's not easy to mainstream a tradition that has been there. On the contrary, I think respect and recognitions of the distinctions of this tradition, of Islamic tradition, should also be highly recognized, because we know there are sensitivities involved, and we know the logic of the state of mainstreaming Islamic education. Well, it has to also contend the long historical experience of Muslims in the Philippines having their own distinct informal Islamic education. There are problems being faced by the Department of Education, although there are also some developments that are also happening right now. But at any rate, this only shows that even if there are efforts to mainstream Islamic education, we could not also just be contented with what's going on, because we will know the implications of a fully integrated education, Islamic education, just as we also know the problems if our Islamic education, the traditional Islamic education, is not able to update itself, at least to a standard that is quite competitive with those in other countries. Now, we contend that given the proper support and the proper environment, we can actually nurture a form of Islamic education that is competitive. In other words, if only we have the necessary institutions and the necessary programs that could support a comprehensive Islamic education, we are very sure we can be as competitive like many others. The only question now is, I think, how to sustain them, how to put the right institutions and the right policies, so that there will be continuity of efforts in the institutionalizations of Islamic education. What happened right now is that I think we suffer from this lack of continuity in the policy, because every time there is a new administration, usually the continuity of programs and projects on education suffer from a kind of a policy that is not sustainable, because one administration would have other orientations while previous administration has his or her own administration. So what we want is really a comprehensive policy on Islamic education that is capable of being sustained and should have the right policy, and should be also have the right people to, you know, push forward the vision of Islamic education. I think the recent problem faced now is that as you know, foreign funded projects are sorts of critical in running or in mainstreaming Islamic education. We felt that it's not enough that the fate of Islamic education be made to depend on foreign donors. I think what must be done is Muslims in the Philippines should be able to empower themselves, and they should be the one to run their own affairs, including the formation of Islamic education that is essentially theirs, so that even if there are no support from the outside, they will be still able to run their own affairs and develop their own institutions, including their educational system. So I think that is in summary what we could share in this project of yours. I hope you will have a productive focus group discussion. And again, we would like to express our apology for not being able to be with you this today. But we hope that we will get feedback from your activity, and we hope that we will be able to continue to collaborate on this endeavor, and so that we can together work for a common perspective of how to develop Islamic education in the Philippines. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.